Well, I was very surprised when I was asked to introduce Peter Kreeft, who was so well known, author of 55 books, about maybe more by now, I think, on the refutation of moral relativism, a must-read, of course. What the Pope talks about all the time is destroying our world. And about heaven, there's one on Jesus Shock. So, I need an introduction more than he. The way we became acquainted goes back to our interest in C.S. Lewis, to whom Professor Kreeft, as an author, is a worthy successor. Nearly 50 years ago, I was sent to Oxford, where I became friends with an American graduate student named Van Auken. 25 years later, Van published *The Severe Mercy*, the story of his marriage and his wife's early tragic death. The book contained 14 letters from C.S. Lewis, who called her death a severe mercy, but a mercy nonetheless. He had known him in Oxford. The book naturally caught the attention, because those letters were on the cover, mentioned on them, of C.S. Lewis scholars. And Professor Kreeft and Professor Van Auken became pen friends because of their intellectual commitment to Christianity. When Van paid visits to me here, which was fairly frequent, Tom Howard, another C.S. Lewis fan, and Peter Kreeft came down from Boston, and I found myself a very willing member of their circle. So that, after that introduction of me, now we will hear this exposition of Newman's Dream of Gerontius.
Let's see, if I need no introduction, why do I have one? I've got to tell you one more thing about our little Inklings meeting. At the time, Van was thinking of becoming a Catholic, and so was Tom Howard. And Tom Julian wondered which one would go first. So I said to the two of them, what would you do if you knew you would die tonight? And Tom said, I'd think about it very seriously and pray about it. And Van said, I'd send for a priest. So Tom Julian said, you first, then you. And he was right. I am not a Newman scholar. I am a Newman amateur, a Newman lover, an admirer of Newman. I love the Dream of Gerontius. I use it frequently in my death and dying course because it is about the most important thing that you will ever do, the greatest adventure in your life. Death is a tremendous adventure. It's an infinite risk. On the other side lies either infinite joy or infinite misery. So it's the most important event in your life. It's even greater than birth because you have no choice about being born, but you do have a choice about how you die. In fact, death is the sum of all your choices. Your whole life, like a book, with all its choices in it, both for good and for evil, at that point goes home to the printer. Birth does not determine your eternity, death does. So this is about the most serious subject that anyone could write about. I'm not a poet, as Tom Julian is, and I'm not a professional English teacher, but I do want to say one thing about Newman's poetry and how it differs from most typically modern or typically contemporary poetry. Poets today write generally to each other. whereas Newman writes to the world. It is elegant, it is intelligent, it is not common or conversational. It's a formal style, the old-fashioned thing. If we wanted conversation, we could go to anybody. If we want beautiful formal speech, we go to poets. It's ordered, it's structured, it has rhyme, it has rhythm, it has a logical structure, and it's beautiful. Much of contemporary art is a crusade against beauty as a kind of a superstition. Furthermore, it's clear. Ordinary people can understand it. I assume you are ordinary people rather than poets, so that you can understand it. We have a saying in academia about certain philosophical ideas. The saying goes something like this: the idea is so insane that you have to have a PhD to believe it. Above all, his speech is, although formal, natural. It's not artificially clever. There's not the slightest sneer in it. It's not, look how brilliant I am. There's no ironic distance. In fact, it does exactly the opposite. It grips you from the heart. It's existential, it's personal, it's passionate, it's pious. It's not just about religion, it's religious. That is a big difference. The Lord of the Rings, the greatest book of the 20th century, is not about religion, but it is a religious book. A lot of books about religion are not religious books. I will focus on only the points in this poem that I find are useful and important and make a difference to your life, and that are also surprising, not obvious. Something that can teach you something new. I think as you get older, you realize that time is precious. You only have a little bit of it left, so don't waste it on cliches. When I was given this assignment, I love it when people give me assignments because I'm lazy. My students always say, tell me what to write an essay about. And I say, no, I worksheet you half your work. Half your work is getting a question out. The other half is getting an answer to it. So thank you for doing half my work for me. When I was first given this assignment, I reflected on the last time I had read the Kreeft which was 10 or 20 years ago, and I asked myself, what were my lasting impressions? What did I remember without having to review the text again? And there were four themes in the poem that stuck out to me. One overwhelming theme was the realism of death. There was no romanticizing, there was no papering it over. The fearsomeness of it, the enormity of it, is presented in all its truth. A second was the notion of spiritual warfare, that life and death are not peaceful, but that every moment of our life we're engaged in warfare. The third impression was the importance and the presence of angels, something we somehow have forgotten. Certainly Scripture hasn't. They stare at us from almost every page. And finally, the notion of purgatory. C.S. Lewis, who was not a Roman Catholic, but a member of the Church of England, believed firmly in purgatory. And he once wrote of this dream of Gracious that that's the purgatory that every Christian ought to believe in. I guess he thought that Roman Catholics believed in a different kind of purgatory, kind of a legalistic balance setting or something. But he once wrote, our souls demand purgatory, don't they? Because when you show up at the heavenly mansion and the Lord meets you at the front door and he says, and you know that he speaks the truth, welcome, son, you are home. Now, you stink, and fleas all over you, and your body is full of scabs. Wouldn't you like to take a nice hot bath first before you come to dinner? And wouldn't you say, oh, please, Lord? And he'll warn you, it will hurt a lot, you know, but wouldn't you say, oh, please, give it to me anyway? Really, I have only two things to say about the poem. I hope you all got copies of it so that we can read it, and instead of just focusing on what I have to say, we can focus on what Newman has to say.